I chose scenario number 1, the best friend's brother, and that choice defined everything that followed. That weekend at Lake Hallow began innocently enough. I had just turned 36, and my life was supposed to feel settled, safe, ordinary. But the night I found myself standing barefoot in the kitchen, staring into the amused, dark eyes of Daniel, my best friend Claire's older brother, something shifted inside me like a curtain being pulled back on a forbidden stage of my own life. My days before that were textbook stability. I ran my own small design studio in the city, lived alone in a sunny apartment with plants that thrived better than I did some weeks, and sipped wine on Friday nights with Claire, my anchor since college. I had been married once, not for passion, but for the kind of companionship everyone said was wise and enduring. It ended quietly 3 years ago, leaving me with polite memories instead of heartbreak. Claire asked me to join her family's yearly cabin trip, promising a lazy weekend by the water. I said yes without thinking. I imagined laughter, shared meals, and sunsets. That was what I cherished most. It was Friday evening when the plan began to unravel. By some twist of scheduling, Claire was held back in the city for work. Her parents were away too. That left me in the cabin facing Daniel. Fresh from a divorce that had apparently hollowed him out, but left a rugged kind of presence behind. Twice my age, Claire's brother had always been the untouchable one, handsome in a way that belonged to a different era, the kind of man you imagine in old photographs, not in your kitchen asking if you want tea. Late that night, as I stood outside on the deck, he joined me, hands deep in the pockets of his sweater. His voice was low, almost reluctant, as he told me his ex-wife had moved on long before she admitted it. Months of stolen glances with another man, dinners that ended with late meetings, guilt wrapped in silence. I was the last to know, he said. I saw the ache in his jaw, the way his gaze avoided mine, as though meeting my eyes might crack something open. That confession pulled up my own buried shame, how my marriage died quietly on a Tuesday when my ex told me he had never really been in love with me. Betrayal becomes a shared language when two people have read from the same script of heartbreak. Over the next day, I descended into a place I hadn't visited in years, shaky, restless, invaded by memories that turned my skin cold and hot in waves. The cabin's wooden floor creaked under my steps, echoing through rooms that felt too big with only 2 people. The air smelled faintly of pine and something sweet from the tea Daniel brewed each morning, steam carrying notes of honey that made me ache for warmth beyond my mug. I found myself watching him chop wood outside, the thrum of my heartbeat pulling attention to my ribs. Once inside, our hands brushed over the same mug handle. It was nothing, but my breath caught sharply, the metallic taste of surprise lingering at the back of my tongue. At night, I would stand outside the guest room window, staring at the lake reflecting the moon, thinking of how dangerous and intoxicating it was to even imagine crossing that line, the line I swore I would never touch. The danger was not in Daniel's age or his connection to Claire alone. It was in how safe he felt. How 2 people can be strangers and still see straight into the shattered places inside each other. It wasn't lust clawing at me. It was tenderness, slow and deliberate. That night, we cooked dinner together, garlic sizzling in olive oil, the cabin warm with the smell. He poured wine, and I heard the faint tick of the clock mingling with the crackle from the fireplace. I looked at his hands, strong and steady, the way his voice dipped slightly when he asked if I was happy these days. My throat tightened. I answered too quickly, I am, though I did not know if it was true. If this confession has you holding your breath and wondering how a weekend trip turned into the most dangerous connection of my life, hit like and share, because you will not believe what happens next. On Saturday afternoon, rain began drumming on the cabin roof. We stayed inside, playing cards, something I hadn't done in years. and our laughter felt shockingly easy. Every time our eyes met, it lingered a second longer than it should. My senses picked up everything: the faint scent of his aftershave, the way the low light framed the hollows of his cheeks, the deep timbre in his voice as he won yet another round. The clock ticked on, but the world outside seemed to disappear. When I stood to fetch another bottle of wine, he stopped me with a hand lightly on my wrist. The warmth of his touch sent an unsteady shiver down my spine. We froze in that moment, as if both waiting for the other to step back. Neither of us did. Later, we spoke quietly on the couch, voices blending with the sound of rain. He told me how he thought love after betrayal was impossible, how he feared becoming someone who lived in half-shadows, never breathing deeply again. I told him how I missed feeling chosen, really chosen, without condition or convenience. That conversation wasn't a confession of love, not yet, but it planted something dangerous in the center of us. The firelight flickered across his face, and I kept wondering whether anyone in Claire's family would ever forgive what this was becoming. By Sunday morning, the lake's mist rolled in, heavy and soft. We stood on the deck, side by side, mugs of coffee warming our hands. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The silence wasn't empty, it was full, brimming with that quiet energy that pushes two people to see themselves in each other. I wanted to step closer, to feel the weight of his arm around me, but instead I sipped my coffee and clung to the razor-thin line between choice and consequence. Claire arrived that afternoon, her presence like a gust of wind, scattering the delicate balance we had spun over the past 2 days. Daniel and I moved easily into sibling-friend politeness, but there was an undercurrent neither of us could disguise entirely. A glance here, a smile too quick. She noticed nothing, or so I prayed. When I hugged him goodbye, it was a polite embrace in her eyes, but my pulse told a different story. That weekend did not end with declarations or reckless kisses. It ended with an unspoken pact. We would see where this fragile, forbidden thing led, or whether it should lead anywhere at all. I drove home with rain still clinging to my windshield, my chest heavy with equal parts fear and anticipation. Love after loss is a strange teacher. It makes you weigh the risk against the quiet ache of living without it. Daniel was never supposed to be mine. He belonged to a history I respected, to a family tied to my closest friend. And yet in that cabin, with the lake as witness and the rain as cover, I found myself standing at the edge of something that felt like a second chance. Maybe second chances are never neat. Maybe they are meant to be complicated, healing us in the very mess that could break us again. If you crave more raw, emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits.